Have you ever stopped to think about the sad spectacle that is wasting your attention for nothing? While you're chasing after her, sending messages, dishing out likes, and doing favors like the unpaid employee of the month, do you know what's really happening? She's busy with something else. Or better yet, with another guy who isn't even breaking a sweat for her. Ouch, right? Brace yourself. It's not her fault, champ. It's all on you. You jumped into this game knowing you were already losing, and still posed as a willing volunteer. Begging for attention not only pushes her away, but also destroys any shred of respect she might, just maybe, have for you. Want the cherry on top? Nothing changes until you change. And before you start crying, let me be clear. I'm not here to judge you. Just kidding, a little. I'm here to help you break free from this humiliating loop and turn the tables in your favor. Spoiler alert, chasing after her is the dumbest mistake you can make. Want admiration, respect, and maybe even desire? It's time to do things differently. Looking for new results? Drop these failed tactics and start using your head. And of course, before we move on, let me remind you, this content is only here because someone had the common sense to like, subscribe, and help the algorithm. So do your part. Like, subscribe, and drop a thanks in the comments. It's not for me. It's for the algorithm, the tyrant that decides who deserves the slap you're getting right now. No fluff. Let's get to the good stuff. Let's be honest. How often have you sent that excited message, thinking you were killing it, only to get a lame haha in reply? Or better yet, the classic nada, the deafening silence. Yeah, my friend, that happens when you're chasing someone who barely knows you exist. Want the cherry on top? You keep insisting. Keep trying, as if someday she'll wake up and think, wow, what an amazing person I was ignoring. Spoiler, it's not going to happen. And you know what's the catch? Nobody ever taught you how things really work. From an early age, they drilled into your head that you need to fight, please, and even humiliate yourself to gain someone's interest. But the harsh truth is, the more you try, the more pathetic you look. It's like trying to hold water with open hands. The more effort you put in, the more it slips away. I know. Breaking this cycle seems impossible. You think that if you stop trying, you'll lose any chance you might still have. But here's the raw truth. If she wanted your attention, you wouldn't even need to try. The problem isn't wanting to be noticed. It's the desperate and misguided way you're trying. Now, a relief for your soul. There is a solution. And surprise, it's not rocket science. But it does require one thing you haven't done yet. Change your stance, stop chasing, and start adding real value to your own life. Because, let's be honest, someone who values themselves doesn't need to beg for respect or attention. All right, we've identified the mistake. Let's get straight to the point. Begging for her attention is the first sign you're playing for the losing team. Number 1, the fatal mistake. Begging for her attention. Let's be real here. Begging for a woman's attention is emotionally equivalent to tripping and face-planting repeatedly, thinking someday she'll find it cute. It won't. This desperate stance is the fastest way to make her lose not only interest, but also any respect she might have had for you. And why? Because the moment you start chasing, you're basically shouting without words, I need you more than you need me. And buddy, nothing kills attraction faster than this vibe of emotional begging. The problem with looking desperate. Now think of that classic loser. The guy who texts before sunrise, likes all her photos, including that one with her ex from 2015, and nervously waits to respond the second she types, hi. Then, if she takes a while to reply, he sends a desperate, are you okay? You're all right? You're alive? You know what that screams? Desperation. And desperation, my friend, is the universal repellent of attraction. If you're always available, congratulations. You've just communicated that your life is monumentally boring, and that she's the only interesting pastime you've found. Plus, you're sending the message that her time is infinitely more precious than yours. In practice, it's like tattooing on your forehead. Please step on me, I beg. Practical examples. How you become a walking joke. Imagine you're a salesperson. Every time someone walks into the store, you throw yourself on the ground, grab their feet, and beg, please, buy anything. Take it. I'll give you a discount. Does this make someone value what you're selling? Of course not. They'll think, if he's so desperate, the product must be garbage. And guess who the product is in this scenario? Exactly, the impact on your self-esteem. Now let's move to the Greek tragedy chapter. You. Every message viewed and ignored, every soulless reply, every dry ha chips away at your self-esteem a little more. And then you spiral into self-questioning. What did I do wrong? Why doesn't she like me? Am I invisible? No, dude. The problem isn't you. It's how you're playing the game. Spoiler, you're playing as if you've already lost. The solution: stop fighting for her attention. And before you get it wrong, I'm not saying ignore her and become a cold robot. I'm saying value yourself. Period. Stop begging for something that should happen naturally. People value what's not easy to get. Simple as that. Want to turn the game around? Start now. Invest time in yourself. Stop chasing like she's the last woman on earth. Learn to be less available. Because those who are always around don't spark interest, just pity. Remember, the best way to earn respect and admiration is to first have it yourself. Number 2, the power to reverse the dynamics. All right, you get that begging for her attention is emotionally like throwing yourself on the ground yelling, "Love me!" Now let's take it to the next level. Flipping the script. And before you ask, yes, you can completely change how you're perceived as long as you're willing to lift your head out of the hole and make some changes in how you see yourself and the value you place on your own attention. Why people only value what they can't have easily. Let's go with basic life science. Humans are obsessed with scarcity. Things that are easy to get, nobody cares. Things that are hard, everyone wants them. Think about air. It's there all the time, right? Nobody minds. But try holding your breath for 2 minutes. Suddenly, air becomes your most coveted commodity. Relationships work the same way. If you're always there, ready to respond to any hi from her, as if it's the most important message of your life, guess what? You become like air. Necessary, but invisible. Want to change that? Create scarcity. Make your presence special. Stop being the hunter and become the prize. Here's the kicker. You're not a puppy chasing a bone. You are the bone. Clear? The key is simple but powerful. Focus on yourself. The more you invest in growing, improving, and having fun, the less dependent you become on her validation. The result? You naturally stand out. Think of the protagonist in a movie. He's not desperately chasing everyone. He's interesting on his own and people want to be around him. So the moral of the story is, stop being a background character and start being the protagonist of your own life. Practical tools to climb out of the emotional abyss. Now let's get to the real tips. It's time to stop sabotaging yourself. Invest in yourself. Learn something new. Hit the gym. Or find a hobby that makes you feel alive. This isn't just to impress her. It's for you. And, as a bonus, it makes you seem more interesting. Say no. Often, if she only reaches out when she's bored or needs something, cut it out. Your time is valuable, and you're not here to be anyone's backup plan. Show you have your own life. Post about what you're doing without overdoing it. Make it clear that your world doesn't revolve around her. This isn't to make her jealous. It's to show you're a complete person, with or without her. The effect of this change? Explosive. When you start valuing yourself, 2 things happen. You realize you don't need her for anything. This alone lifts a huge weight off your shoulders. She realizes she lost control. Women are masters at noticing subtle changes. When you stop chasing and become more centered, her alert goes off. What's happening? Why isn't he at my beck and call anymore? Oh, and before you start thinking this is manipulation, hold up. It has nothing to do with cheap tricks. It's about creating balance. It's about stopping being a doormat and becoming someone people truly respect and value. Want more.
There's a digital book in the description of this video that explains in detail how to become the prize and finally ditch the desperate role. There, you'll learn easy yet highly effective psychological strategies to change how she sees you. Read it and embrace the transformation. Or stay stuck as a background character. The choice is yours.
Number 3. When she realizes she lost control. Now that you finally started acting like someone who has a life, congrats, by the way. On the progress, something interesting happens. She realizes she's lost control over you. And surprise, this deeply affects her. It's the moment the game flips, and that guy who seemed like an emotional accessory turns into an intriguing mystery. The magical power of pulling away. You've probably heard the saying, absence makes the heart grow fonder. And no matter how cliché it sounds, it's pure truth, of course, when used intelligently and not with cheap drama. When you pull away, especially from someone who was used to having you available like free Wi-Fi, the shock hits. She thinks, why isn't he chasing me anymore? Did he find someone better? Did I miss out on something amazing without realizing? This is the effect of distancing. You create a vacuum, and her mind races to fill that space with doubts and curiosity. Suddenly, that predictable and boring guy becomes someone unpredictable, and that, my friend, is irresistible. The panic of losing control. Few things scare humans more than losing control over something they thought was right. Before, you were the predictable guy who was always there. Now, you're someone she can't figure out. This mystery triggers one of the biggest psychological attraction triggers: uncertainty. People want what they can't control, and when you stop being an open book and start becoming an enigma, the game changes. She realizes she can't play with you the same way as before, and it makes her reassess the value you hold in her life. But it's not always worth coming back. Now, let's take it slow. Sometimes this pulling away reveals something even more important. She was never truly interested. If, after you distance yourself, she doesn't reach out, congratulations. You've just saved time, energy, and possibly your dignity. Cutting ties might seem hard at first, but it's the smartest decision when it's clear you were investing in something without a future. Let the dead plant go and focus on cultivating new connections, or better yet, yourself. And if she comes back, how not to mess it up? If distancing works and she decides to come back, here's the secret. Don't be stupid. Don't revert to the same emotional doormat you were before. Set clear boundaries, maintain your stance, and don't give up the respect you've earned. She needs to understand that you won't tolerate being treated as a backup plan. Be firm, direct, and keep in mind that reciprocity is the minimum acceptable. The goal isn't to play games, but to ensure you're in control of your life and emotions. The final impact: respect and freedom. When you stop being desperate and become someone who knows their worth, two things happen. She sees you differently, because now you inspire respect and even admiration. You gain something even more valuable: freedom. Freedom to choose whether to continue with her or move on in search of something better. In summary, pulling away isn't about manipulation. It's about valuing yourself and redefining the game's rules. When you stop being an emotional hostage and start acting like someone who respects themselves, the dynamics completely change. Now that you understand how to flip the script, the real question is, are you willing to maintain this stance? Because believe me, the respect you demand from others always starts with the respect you have for yourself. Finally, we've reached the main point. How much is your attention worth? Spoiler, if you don't know how to answer, you're likely treating something valuable like a child's party favor. Now stop and reflect. How many times have you wasted your time, energy, and emotions on someone who clearly didn't care? How many times have you stopped chasing your own dreams, projects, and even your peace of mind just to try to please someone who barely knew you existed? Yeah, champ, the list is probably long. Your attention is a gift, not alms.
Let's make something clear. The attention you give to a woman isn't an obligation or something she's automatically entitled to. It's a gift. Yes, a gift, but the way you're handing it out, it feels more like a flyer on the street. Nobody values it, and they're tossing it away right in front of you.
And you know why this happens? Because you act as if your attention is infinite and available to anyone. When you do that, you're communicating to the world and to yourself that she's not worth it. And let's be honest, if you don't value what you offer, why should anyone else? The issue isn't her, it's you. This talk of, but she doesn't recognize my effort, is just an excuse to avoid facing the truth. The problem isn't her. The problem is you, not having learned to value what you have. Want to be treated as a priority. Start acting like one. The way you manage your attention dictates how people will see and treat you. So be honest with yourself. Have you been valuing yourself or begging for attention like a stray dog? Is your life about you or about dancing around someone else's whims? Good news, you can change this now. You don't have to stay stuck in this ridiculous cycle. You can decide today that your attention is a limited resource, a premium item, not a clearance product. Want to know what happens when you do that? Women start seeing you differently. Suddenly, you're no longer predictable or overly available. You become a challenge. You begin to feel in control. Nothing is more powerful than knowing you have the power to decide who deserves to be in your life. So what's it going to be? Will you keep living as if your attention is worthless currency, or will you stand up as someone who truly respects themselves? The choice is yours. But remember, no one can treat you better than you treat yourself. And the moment you start valuing yourself, the world won't have any other option but to follow suit. And now it's your turn. Will you keep chasing, begging for attention, and collecting humiliations? Or will you grow a pair and flip the script? Because, let's be clear, fighting for scraps of attention is the fastest way to lose others' respect, and worse, your own. Those who want to be with you don't ignore you, don't put you in the Plan B drawer, and don't make you feel like you're competing for a spot in their heart. The problem was never whether you were enough. It was that you were acting like you weren't. So, what to do? Simple. Stop chasing someone who barely looks your way. Instead, invest in something that never disappoints. Yourself. Make your life so interesting that people want to be part of it. Not out of pity or convenience, but because they see you as someone worth having around. In the end, the question isn't, how do I please her, but who's willing to stand by me for who I am? Now tell me, what's your biggest screw-up? Come on, don't disappoint me. What's the biggest mistake you've made trying to get someone's attention? Go ahead, vent in the comments. Let's laugh, learn, and maybe get inspired to never make the same mistakes again. And one more thing. Share this content with that friend who's always dragging emotional chains. You know, the one who sends desperate texts, likes old photos, and does everything wrong? He needs to hear this. Oh, and don't forget. In the next video, we'll talk about the 3 fatal mistakes that make any woman lose interest in seconds. Do you really want to keep playing the fool? Then, hit the bell, subscribe to the channel, and don't miss out. See you there.